All right, extremism is the new it word, I guess, for the world of virtue signaling. Now, claims of right-wing extremism in the Republican Party, everything is this and that, and extremists in the ranks, so on and so forth. All of this, all of a sudden, everything is somehow riddled with extremism in our military is just the next thing they're targeting here. It's really, really bad. The Pentagon published a 21-page set of rules aimed at, quote, stopping extremism in the ranks, listing out an array of now banned activities, including most minor things like engage in electronic and cyber activities regarding extremist activities or groups that support extremist activities, including posting, liking, sharing, retweeting, or otherwise distributing content. Liking things on social media. You can't even like a social media post without concern that it could somehow cost you your security clearance or even your career. So instead of liking that funny meme making fun of Joe Biden, you have to worry about if that's considered an extremist post. But who decides what's extremist? This is my big problem here. If this past year has taught us anything, according to the mainstream media and the woke liberals, anything they don't agree with, our social overlords, is censored under the extremist umbrella. If it's harmful, dangerous, or gives you the sads. I mean, don't worry though, the Pentagon says it has no way of looking at every social media account, but it wouldn't be far-fetched if they tried.
There's no ability for the Department of Defense to monitor the personal social media content of every member of the armed forces. That would have to come to light through various streams of reporting. It wouldn't be something that the command or the department's going to be actively fishing for.
Right, various streams of reporting. So on top of everything else, the Pentagon is begging soldiers to turn on one another instead of focusing on the important things, of course, like training to fight a war. The military does that. You have to worry about not only what you like on social media, but also what your battle buddy might like too. Oh, and God forbid, someone who may disagree with you reports you as an extremist. I mean, this is like McCarthyism reversed. Unbelievable. Folks, let's get this out of the way. The job of the U.S. military is to kill bad guys and break things. That's it. Full stop. Our job is not to be the diplomatic person in the streets or handing out candy in Baghdad. I can say that unequivocally because I was there. I killed a lot of bad guys and I broke a lot of things. But under Obama, I was also forced to do nation building as well. You know what got more bad guys off the battlefield? Not nation building. When you need to win a war, you need to unleash the savageness of the American soldier to inflict loss on the enemy. Period. That's what war is. It's not great, it's bad, and it is hell. But that's what we got. And when they've had enough, then you can be diplomatic. And you know what? We have diplomats for that. That's how war works. But somewhere in between understanding the need to drop the atomic bomb and now, we've lost the edge that won us 2 world wars. The military is seemingly more interested in this blind social compliance with this softening agenda than they are killing any bad guys. Case in point, this administration was more committed to a political victory by pulling out of Afghanistan, leaving Americans behind in a war zone, letting it fall back into the hands of the Taliban that we fought to get it away from in the first place. Then they weren't at all interested in maintaining regional stability. That is the thought process of this administration, and they want people to go along with it. That's why they're purging the military of anyone who might show any opposition to action like this. Look, having served in the military, I can tell you unequivocally that our military is comprised of a very diverse, highly qualified, highly unified force of good men and women who have a steadfast commitment to the Constitution. Sadly, though, you can't say the same thing about our top brass, and especially not our civilian leaders. Most of them are basically just politicians blowing whichever the wind takes them. If you're sitting there doubting me, take a look at this. Today, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III signed a memo directing commanding officers and supervisors at all levels to select a date within the next 60 days to conduct a one-day stand-down to discuss extremism in the ranks with their personnel. Stop training for war, folks. We need to look at your Twitter feed. Part of the definition of extremism to them is the fact opposition to political leaders. Really? If there was only something that would allow political dissent. Oh, there is. It's called the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging from the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. When you enter the military, you take an oath. I, Carl Higbie, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. Did you notice that the Constitution comes first? It comes before the chain of command because it's a higher power. Because even in the military, you do have a First Amendment right, so long as you're not disobeying a lawful order. That oath also means that you cannot be ordered to not have a dissenting view of political beliefs while on active duty. Trust me, folks, I literally wrote a book on this after I beat the U.S. military on this topic. That's my book. You should read it. Begs the question, what are they so worried about? Now, keep in mind, this memo was issued immediately after Biden took office. A bunch of red flags went up for me. This was a loyalty test. This whole Lloyd Austin memo combined with all the other stuff they're doing right now, this is a loyalty test. It's a memo authorized the review of service members' social media, public posts, private posts, any comments made in the locker room, anything was to be reported or vetted. Now, this had nothing to do with the concern of actual extremism. It certainly didn't have anything to do with force readiness. It had everything to do with a loyalty test to an administration that was not widely supported among the ranks of the last election. They disguised it as extremism, but even General Milley did a garbage job at selling this. Watch.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
Give me a break. This was their basis. Over the next few months, the military discharged or disciplined, I don't know, maybe like 100 service members for extremism, for supporting groups like the Proud Boys, another suspected race-related organization, going towards Milley's bizarre desire to understand white rage. By the way, maybe this guy should be less focused on catering to the woke masses and virtue signaling with Elmo. I mean, here, focus more on our military. Maybe, just maybe, the Afghanistan withdrawal wouldn't have been so absolutely bad. Think about that. You know how many of these troops were disciplined because they supported Black Lives Matter or Antifa? None. Zero. Big fat donut. Even though there were and still are a number of active military members who support those groups very publicly on social media. They did this while these groups were burning down cities. I'm not saying military members did, but military members supported these groups while they burnt down cities. This is undoubtedly targeting conservatives, without a doubt. Everybody knows that. If you need further proof, liberals on the left have been calling GOP extremists for years. This is just their chance to start weeding us out of the military.
These political extremists are in charge of the Republican Party.
The Republican Party is now, in fact, a right-wing extremist party dominated by the Koch brothers' ideology.
I think there's just been a general and growing contempt for democratic norms within the Republican Party and a growing receptivity to extremism, to conspiracy theories, to racism, nativism, xenophobia.
Folks, there's no real threat of extremism in our ranks. Sure, there might be a few I'm not denying, there might be a few bad apples, few outliers in there that I think everyone can agree should be addressed, but this is a sham. There is, however, a massive amount of folks that are loyal to the Constitution first. And that is what worries this administration. They know Trump had a strong approval with the military, the actual sled dogs, the fighting force of the military, and least among the fighting ranks there was no support for Biden in any broad spectrum, okay? They are worried the military will support the Constitution, but they want the military to blindly support this radical agenda. This is a loyalty test. We are seeing it go one step further now with the vaccine mandates. This is yet another attempt to weed us out. In this case, those with strong beliefs in personal freedoms and religious convictions. Don't believe me? Folks, they have denied almost every single religious exemption. I'm not trying to scare anyone out there. I don't think the Biden administration is planning to take any military action that would require military members to break any oath to the Constitution. Don't worry about that. I'm not saying that. But I think this administration is attempting to get rid of or make examples of anyone who would choose the Constitution over in order to subvert it. So